A pleasure to welcome to the podcast Kat Buchanan, goalie in the Athletes Unlimited Pro League. Kat, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Appreciate you having me.
Yeah, well, thanks for joining. I always like to hear the story of the very first time that you jumped into goal. Do you remember that?
I don't know if I remember it exactly, but it was probably just like everyone else, kind of. No one really wanted to play goalie. Everyone's switching positions. They need to throw somebody in. I think it was something like that. And I didn't love running. So I was like, yeah, I'll do it. Did it once. I probably really liked it because I wasn't moving much. And then I think I just kind of stuck with it from there.
Yeah, I am one of those goalies too that fell into the didn't like running camp.
Yeah.
There's a lot of running as a midi, which I started out playing, and then when our team needed a goalie, combined with the fact that you're like, oh, you're telling me the goalie doesn't have to run up and down the field constantly in practice? Like I'm in on that.
That was definitely me. I think I maybe practiced or played like 2 games as an attacker.
Yeah.
Wasn't
And then
much.
was it something that like you enjoyed right away? I mean, obviously the non-running aspect of it, but in terms of making the saves and something you kind of picked up pretty quickly.
Yeah, I think it came pretty naturally to me. I was probably like 8 or 9, so I was playing
Yeah.
baseball at this time too. Which you could do both at the same time when we were younger, which was nice, but it was a lot of hand-eye stuff that is kind of like the development of your sports journey at that age. So
Yeah.
like for me, like the hand-eye thing kind of came pretty quick, and I think that just kind of made the most sense for me at the time.
Yeah. What do you what do you say to an 8-year-old? I do these goalie summit events, where like people come on and train and give sessions. And sometimes people send me these pictures of themselves like watching the event. And like I didn't realize, what audience we were reaching because a lot of them are 8. I'm like, wow, they are so young. And which
Yeah.
is really cool to see because then, I know how I have to talk, right? Because the way you talk to
Yeah.
an 8-year-old's a little bit different. But when you're like, if you're going to coach an 8-year-old right now, like how do you do it? What are the first couple chats look like?
Um, well, I started kind of talking to myself this year actually, which is kind of late, about how like good shots are going to go in. And that's what one of my coaches told me at JMU this year. And ever since then, it's like kind of been like a aha moment of like, you're right. Like good shots are going to go in, and like
Yeah.
their job is to score. So they're going to be upset also if they don't score. Someone's going to be upset, and it's okay. So I think mentality obviously is something that's really important with young kids. Um, I think as it's such a hard position, and I think everybody kind of respects it and appreciates that and they understand it. I think it's really important that we really kind of drill it into the kids that it's not going to be easy. It's going to be very fun when you make your saves, and you're not supposed to go 75%. Like it was just really funny because my dad was a hockey goalie growing up. And so I was the first in the family to ever play lacrosse. And he was like, you're not like, he didn't think I was ever good because hockey goalies should be going 90%. He's
Right.
like, studying everything, like, you're not good. Like, I don't know. Like, he never thought a college thing was like was supposed to be the way it went, but it ended up being different, obviously. So I think just like little fundamentals and mental, you know, stability and conversations to yourself are huge when you're young.
Yeah. So it starts with that mental piece. Like before you even get into anything, just, educating them on, the trials and tribulations that are ahead of you, right? Because you are going to go through a lot of problems and go through some bumpy patches as a goalie. So yeah, I like that. I like that. So then how did you go about learning how to make saves? You said you grew up in Milton, Mass. Some camps, or is there some coaches in the area? How'd you learn how to make saves?
Honestly, I was kind of big. It was on YouTube a lot. I
Mm.
didn't really, I don't know, I never really did club until uh like my junior year in high school, which was really late to hop on the club thing, but
Oh wow, yeah.
we did a lot of hot summer days, which is nice. But yeah, I think I did a lot of kind of self-teaching, and I just watched a lot of men's lacrosse. So I remember watching a lot of just whoever. Like I would look up how to play lacrosse goalie, and it would be just steps and punch your hands and the little things. And then
Right.
eventually, that's I think how I kind of formed my own like style of goalie. Like, I think every goalie is obviously different, but I
Right.
think it comes with how you learn it. And I think by doing it kind of on my own was kind of fun for me to figure out what was best for me.
That's awesome. YouTube goalie, a YouTube goalie, as I like, self-learned YouTube goalie.
Yeah,
I imagine you watched one of my videos somewhere along the way. At
I'm
least
sure
I
I
hope so.
I'm sure I did many of them.
How do you describe your style of goalie play? You're lefty to start out.
Um, I think I'm pretty active. Um, Sometimes I'll find myself higher up than other times. I'm very situational, I think.
Mm,
Uh, I scout pretty well, like on the other team, so I kind of have a good idea of where I'm stepping for who and how I'm going to step for who. But obviously, if I'm just going to go in blind, then I'd say I'm you know I don't hate leaving the crease. I will try to get my in the passing lanes and stuff like that. But I don't really make traditional low saves. I wouldn't say I'm a very traditional women's goalie, at least. Um, it's more of like a knee on the ground or that kind of thing that
mm.
is best for me when it comes to low shots. I think high shots, there's kind of only a couple ways to really do it. So I think high is
Yeah, that's true. High's pretty universal, right? Just
yeah,
get your hands over there,
yeah,
step to the shot. But you're right. You can on low saves, stay on your feet, or you can, like you say, kind of get your leg behind it. Maybe butt goes to the ground. And I imagine you learned that technique watching when you were saying watching the male goalies, because that's
yeah,
from what I see, much more common in the male game, right?
yeah.
Yeah,
That's where I got all that from.
nice. And then how do you see someone do that on YouTube and then like incorporate it into your own game? You just see it and you go out there and like, all right, I'm gonna try this or something else.
Well, I think seeing things really opens up like a whole new mentality and visualization process for
Yeah.
me. I'm a visualizer, so I'll think about like if I'm standing here, say there's like someone's coming down, the right alley as a lefty goalie, and my offside is open. So they're gonna usually put it bottom left or their bottom left. So I
Right.
have to slow and really get my legs there. So I try to think a goalie that I who does this a lot was Rachel Hall, BC goalie. So
Hmm.
she did a lot of those low saves, and I think that's kind of the way I like to get down there too.
Hmm.
So I think just like seeing a lot of it and kind of telling yourself in practice when this is when you recognize that it's off stick low, like just get down there. And then over time it kind of will work itself out, I think. But it's definitely a process, and sometimes you don't have it and you're just really late on it, or you go low and it's actually 3 feet off the ground or something. So I
Hmm.
think it's just a lot of reps and stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, to your point, like it helps to have that visual image in your head of what that save looks like. What exactly am I trying to do? Right. And then you can go out there and sort of do it. But um, if you haven't watched those goalies and haven't seen that technique, I think it becomes a lot harder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think like I played hockey growing up, ice hockey, and I was always playing street hockey goalie. I was a forward in hockey, but when we were in street hockey, I would always play goalie.
Yeah.
And so that's all like in butterfly position, like all on the ground. So I find myself kind of dropping like that, like knees in sometimes for low saves. And so I
Do
think it's
you?
just what you watch is like, it kind of just comes to you naturally at that point.
Yeah. That's awesome. I hadn't noticed that in when I was watching your save. So knees
Well,
come in, kind of legs butterfly out, and
it'll happen in practice, like say on like a fake crease roll, like fake high, shoot low. I'm
yeah.
here, my stick's high, just got to get something low, so I just kind of like collapse. It's kind of funny. My teammates are always like, "What are you doing?" Like, I don't know. It
Doing anything
happens.
I can to make the save, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. What would you say is your favorite part about being the lacrosse goalie, Kat?
I know it sounds silly, but just making saves, it's like the best feeling in the world.
Yeah.
It's like I kind of try to explain it to some of my friends. Like I golf a lot, and you don't have to be a good golfer to go back to the course all the time. Like you hit one shot perfectly and you're like, oh my God, I'm roped right back in. Like it's kind of
Yeah.
like that feeling like I can do that. Like I'm gonna go do that, try to do that again. So that's for me is like making a save like in an important moment is like to me like the best feeling in the entire world. And like that's why I still play. And like that's why I just like always want to be playing, especially with the level I'm at right now. It's gonna be harder to make saves and it just means that much more when you make them.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, isn't making a save the best?
Yeah, all it is, right?
Yeah, I mean it's such a build up. Oh, you make the save and you're just like break. And yeah, I love
Is
that. Yeah. Do you have any like particular saves that come to mind that were like your favorites?
yeah. Um, so this year we beat Maryland twice, which was something that you like I always kind of thought of when I was little. I'm like, I want to play against Maryland. Oh, I wanted to play. Everyone kind of wanted to play for Maryland,
Yeah.
and so I wasn't playing for Maryland. Just gonna have to play against them, and I just it was a 8-7 game the first time we played them. It was a kind of just a girl was coming down the left alley with like 45 seconds left on the clock. We're up one, and it was just like a low try to get between my legs bounce shot, and I kind of just dropped, and it kind of the sweatpants got in there a little bit, helped out, and it made the save, and you kind of run the clock from there. And so beating Maryland like that was like something you kind of think about when you're little, and it's really cool because now JMU's like that. Like people want to beat JMU, and
Yeah.
it's kind of cool. So it was really cool to me, and that's one that I remember definitely.
Oh, I love that. That's amazing. Yeah, anytime you can get a walk-off save, those are like truly special, like a save in the closing seconds to win a 1-goal game. That's wow.
Yeah, I had one in the second time we played Maryland also in the playoffs this year. We were down 4 with like 6 minutes left, and the offense got it going, took care of it, and we had a timeout. They had the ball. We're like, guys, we're gonna need one more stop. Like that's it. And we've been doing it. We need one more. And also left the alley. And I just got my shoulder to it, and it went wide. They got the ball back, but they kind of turned it over from there. And so that was another one that just felt so good.
That's amazing. All you do is make walk-off saves against Maryland, Kat.
2 important ones, I will say, that I will always remember.
Yeah, of course. That's amazing. Talk to me about your recruiting journey. Go to JMU. I'd love to hear kind of, how they got on your radar and that whole, the story, if you could.
Yeah, so kind of unconventional. Like I said, played ice hockey growing up. I always wanted to play college hockey, being from where I was, and I just think it was within reach for me. I never really thought too much about college lacrosse, but when it came down to it, I didn't have it to play Division I hockey, and not that I didn't want to play D2 or D3, but my dreams were to play D1 in something, and so I still played hockey, but then I really had to turn it on for lacrosse because that was next up. And I think it was going into my junior year. So that's when I got on a club team. And then that junior season, I had my mom film every game of mine in the spring. And then I just clipped something together and threw it out to like, I think probably the top 20, top 25 with others scattered in there. And, only Shelly at JMU responded. And so because they had just lost a goalie to a decommitment. And so that's really late to be looking for a goalie, going into your senior year, basically.
Right.
And they needed it, and it just worked out perfectly. And then they had their Cinderella season, and they won the national championship, and it was just so surreal.
That's
I was
amazing.
like, "When is it gonna play lacrosse?" And then now I'm like, really playing lacrosse. It's like, it was definitely a turnaround, but it was the best. It worked out absolutely perfectly.
That is amazing. So wait, let me do the math here. They won the national championship, and then the season before you arrived, or your freshman year?
Season 4, I got there.
Okay. That's what happened at Cal too. So when the Cal won the national championship in 1998, and then I got there in 1999. So we both joined teams that were coming off national
Yeah.
championship wins.
Yep.
And it's tough, right? You got the what's it called? Like, they want to take down the team that's wearing the crown.
Yeah, it was definitely really interesting because it up until my 5th year was the first year that we didn't have anybody on the national championship team. So, and not that that was a negative thing for the 4 years prior,
Right.
but it's hard when I win. If I were to ever win a national championship, I would not settle in. I wouldn't settle down and take and not see for another. But it's kind of like a weight lifted off your shoulders kind of thing, I bet. And it's like, oh, we did it. Like, but then there's the girls coming in that are like, like you better keep going. Like, I want this.
Right.
So that was like when my 5th year came along, it was just us like who came in and we're like, you know what, like now it's us. Like we are the only ones here that like now none of us have one. So like let's all work together. And it was kind of like it was really cool because it was, the 5 of us from my original class stayed for my 5th year. And we
Yeah.
all just had the exact same mentality going into it. So
That's cool. It's kind of like a bonding, something you guys could all get behind.
yeah.
Yeah.
Not that the girls on
The
the
others.
team had any, like, not that the national champions who were on the team had any negative,
Right.
you know, anything on the teams, but it was once they were gone, we're like, it's just us. Like, now what? So it's pretty
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. When you said, in ice hockey, like I didn't have it, what does that mean? Like you just like you wanted to play D1 sports and you weren't there athletically?
I not that size can be an excuse because there's some very small hockey players out there, but I wasn't strong enough.
Mhm.
I knew I would have just gotten bullied out there. So it was just not that it wasn't worth it, but I wasn't good enough to even get the looks that I wanted. And so at that point, like I knew I had something to offer somewhere else. And it was kind of
Yeah.
that's when I like switched
Yeah.
my mental
And did you
vision.
ever go through like thoughts of, wow, I'm starting this really late. I'm really behind the 8 ball. Can I really do it? Any kind of thoughts go through your head like that?
Oh yeah. Well, it's tough. This was before the September 1st junior year thing,
Okay.
thing rule. So a lot of these girls had been committed from the class that I was going into for 3 years now,
Right.
Freshman, sophomore commits. And so they've been friends, they've been building relationships. And so coming in I was a little nervous just because that's a group of chemistry and you don't really want to go and mess around with anything that's already there. Um, it ended up being perfect and I met all my best friends, so it worked out. But there was definitely some doubts, like, do they only need me because they needed a goalie at last minute? Like,
Right.
are they picking up whatever they can get right now? And so to me, that was kind of like some things I had to work through. But once you get there and you kind of start settling in and you realize your value and your worth, I think that's when it all started working out.
Interesting. Yeah, well, feelings of self-doubt are like very common. Especially for us goalies, they could come out of nowhere, right? You'd be like zooming along and all of a sudden, you have a bad little stretch and you're like, wait a minute, like you start doubting you, am I a good goalie? Like have you gone through that? And like how do you like when that happens, how do you overcome that?
Yeah, definitely. I definitely did go through that. So I was a backup for 4 years at JMU. And then I had to make the decision of like, and do I want to play and do a fifth? Because that's going to be what it takes. And it really came down to like having to understand that the player in front of you won a national championship. She was, all American. It's like just because you're playing behind someone, it
Hmm.
doesn't mean that you're not amazing. It's just they have a lot of confidence in the person in front of you. They have a relationship. The team has chemistry with them. It's you don't want to go in and just mess things up. And I completely understand that. And that's something that came with time. In the beginning, I kind of came in, I'm like, I think I can do this too. Like, why am I sitting on the bench and why are they playing? What's going on here? Like, there's a lot of that talk, but that's only something that you can control. like you can go into the coach's office and they'll tell you, like, you're not better than this person.
Right.
And that's something that you have to come to terms with, or you're just going to be miserable. So it took a little while. I'd say I started really settling in towards like halfway through my sophomore season. It took a little while, but it really ended up working out. And I think a lot of it comes from being able to work through it mentally. And I guess that's when you're a backup, but say you're in a game and you're not playing well. I found myself in, we played Hopkins this year, and I just like actually couldn't make a save. And I was telling myself that I'm like, I'm not seeing the ball, I'm not seeing the ball, I'm not seeing the ball. And my coach is like, just go make a save. And I'm like, I can't see the ball. Like, but then you think about it, like the more you say things out loud, the more they're going to be real. And that's definitely really true for goalies. I think if you say like, all right, I'll get the next one, like, which I started, buying into later in the season, I'd say, you know what, guys, like I'll get the next one, and I would. And I think that's something that was big for me. And I wish I had better self-talk at the beginning of the season.
Yeah. Yeah, that self-talk's so crucial, right? Like you said, once you say like, oh, I'm not seeing it, it tends to like become this self-fulfilling prophecy, and it gets worse, and you just dig in this mental spiral. Whereas if you say like, I'll get the next one, I'll get the next one, and really believe it, that was kind of a cool thing you said right there, because it's very easy to say it. It's a little bit more difficult to actually believe it, right?
Yeah. And it's good. It's so important that your teammates believe you. If you're telling your defenders, I'm not seeing the ball, what do you want them to do? Like now you don't want the ball down this end, because it's all up to them. And so Marie Durkin, like my buddy who's here with me, who also went to JMU with me, she was my defender. And she was the one I would always talk to in games. She's like, you're like, relax, like you're fine. Like just go make a save and don't tell me that you can't see the ball.
Right.
So it was fun. We always would mess around like that. But
yeah, you got to exude confidence. I mean, that's kind of part of being a leader back there, right? Is their defense, your team wants to look back and see a goalie that's like stable, not one that's doubting themselves or just saying, help me, I can't make any saves. But yeah, I like that. What about in terms of when you get to JMU, you'd mentioned watching a lot of goalies on YouTube. Now you got Molly Dougherty starting, who plays in professional league as well. So we got right.
She was there last year, yeah.
Oh, she's not playing this year. I got you. Anyway, pro goalie. Let's leave it at that. Talk to me about how your game changed and what you learned from her.
Yeah, me and Molly had a great relationship. I think it was definitely hard in the beginning. I'm coming in a little cocky, overly confident, high energy, like ready to go. And she just had solidified her name. And I think for both of us, it was kind of like all right, we're gonna have to figure this out, because this could be bad. Like, you know how it is in goalie world, like sometimes it can get a little animated, and it cannot always go the good way. But I think we had great conversations. We learned a lot from each other eventually. Yeah, I mean, we play very different games.
Right.
She's like a very technical righty, like, extreme, like strong, like all of her technical work and like all of her techniques are just very, very sound. And that's something that I never had, or never really was, because of how I came up. But I learned a lot from Molly. I learned a lot about the mental game and a lot about leading. And she knew that she was going to be the person I looked up to. So we really like worked into that role of like that 1-2. And I think together it was just like a really, really good force. If she was ever not seeing something for a little while, like they'd throw me in for 5 minutes and then switch back, and like we really like balanced off each other well. And that's something like for me that if you go into that with a negative mindset, then you're just gonna be mad about it. But it's really helping the team. So I think if that's the time I'm gonna play, then that's the time I'm gonna play. And it's not up to me. So like take what you can get. And she was always really, really good to me. And it was really, really cool, I think, being behind her after her national championship run and stuff.
Awesome. What are we talked about sort of that next shot mentality as being part of the mental game. What are some other things maybe that you learned from her or from others regarding the mental game?
Um, well, my goalie coach, Matt Snyder, he would just be such a positive person always. There was never really anything negative coming from him. And I think having that in your environment is so important, especially from a coach. And I think he is like, definitely one of the main reasons I was successful. He, I'd come out and he'd be like he'll laugh about it. He'll be like, "Oh, that was you didn't move at all on that one," or like, and it
Mm-hmm.
would be good. And it's like if you can just have that sort of relationship with someone in the game, or as if like Maria, I was saying, my buddy, like if you can have that sort of conversation and like banter, that kind of helps. Well, for me at least, I know some goalies don't really want to hear that, but I think once you build those relationships with your couple of people, then it makes it a lot easier mentally. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, it came with time for sure.
Yeah. I like that. It makes me think back to there's this one video, and then I had the guy on the podcast, but he was recording himself making saves. It was just a practice, and we watched him giving up a couple goals. And it was never like his mindset was never like getting down on himself. It was almost like he was laughing, like, "Oh man, you got me on that one," and like keeping this positive mindset throughout the whole thing. And I think that's kind of something you were just hitting on. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because it's funny. That's what we see here a lot. Like right now, I'm on Caylee Waters' team, and she's just such a fun person to be around all the time. And she's laughing like she could be letting three in a row, and she's like, "Oh, great job there! Yay, great job, good job!" And it's like
Mm-hmm.
all it is really. Like you're making your team better. Like, and if you can laugh while doing it, then it's all you really need from a
Yeah.
leader.
Love it. Talk to me about your tips for being a great backup goalie. So you backed up Molly 4 years before doing a fifth year, and then getting the start. So you got a lot of experience, let's say. What can goalies take away who are in that situation? How can they? Because it can be tough, right? Like you want to be out there, you want to get the starts. If you're got a competitive ounce in your body, you want to be the one who starts. So it can be kind of tough. But I'd love to hear how your tips.
Yeah. Well, it all kind of boiled down to me as like it's a choice right now, and how you respond to this affects a lot more than just yourself. And that's something that I really kind of started buying into. Like I said, like the end of my sophomore season, middle of my sophomore season, but everybody on the team has a role. Every single team in the world has a backup goalie. Like it's not like like someone has to do it, so be the best at it. And that's something that I really started buying into, because when I came to terms with the fact that I'm behind a phenomenal goalie and it's not my turn yet, it's like I'm saying, you have a choice now. You can be negative, and you can be the person that no one wants to stand next to on the sidelines. You can be uh you can be the person that's talking behind the backs of your other players and kind of stirring stuff up, or you can be the person that's just so happy to be around and on, the top 10 team in the country,
Right.
and enjoy your moment. And I think that's when I started to really love it, was when I really bought into my role and what I meant to the team, and I really started understanding it and accepting it and loving it, because it becomes a real honor once you really start to understand your value to the team as a backup.
Hmm. Yeah, very interesting. Yeah, and it's there's one starter. That's kind of the nature of our position, right? But all the goalies from second string down to however many goalies you have, like you impact the team in the same way that or in the way that you just mentioned, which is, are you that positive? Are you bringing that energy, or are you that all humbug kind of guy that's like, man, I should be starting, and just like, energy vampire. So you can really impact the team even as a backup, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
Right. So very first start, North Carolina, number one, North Carolina. How is
Yeah.
it in Chapel Hill? Yeah, in Chapel
Yeah.
Hill. So there you go. Trial by fire, right? Talk to me about
Uh-huh.
that
Send
feeling.
it right in there.
Yeah.
It was good. I mean, I didn't play well. I I looked back and I don't think I should have made a lot of those. Like those goals they were great shots, and a lot of them were feeds, like backdoor feeds, and it's just like you just got to be quicker. And I learned a lot though. I think I came out of the game and I remember people are like, it's fine, it's the first game of the season, and it's like it's their first game too. Like, and I really started, I was like mad. Like every single year since I've been at JMU, I've said we're gonna beat UNC this year. We're gonna beat UNC this year. And I've believed it, but I never believed it more than I did this year. And so, going into it, like it was a close game. I think we were winning for a little. Like it was a really good game until we kind of just, it seems to be that way every time we play UNC though. It's always close, and then they just, turn it on and keep going. But that's that was kind of what happened. I think it started off really good. I wasn't making saves and we were winning, so I felt good, but I was like, I can be better, and I couldn't turn it on that game, and I don't blame myself for it. I think maybe lost by 5, but it was definitely humbling to go in, your first game and on their turf and lose like that. But it definitely propelled us, I think, and I really think that we needed that loss to go on that 17-game win streak.
Sometimes you do need a loss to go on a 17-game win streak, right? It lights the fire.
Yeah.
Well, congrats on a great season. I think you guys end up reaching the quarterfinals. So yeah, any other stories or thoughts from the season?
It was just I'm very happy with the way it went. I do think we could have gone farther. I think playing Syracuse in the Dome is definitely a challenge in itself. Never mind in the playoffs. It was a great team, an amazing offense, great defense too. I don't pay attention to that end when I'm playing against a team, but their offense is super super diverse. Like there's some perfect role everywhere on that offense. So I think they got the best of us that day, and I want to go back and do it again, but you can't, and that's when you got to move on. But I think overall the season went really well. We had some great wins, but just really wish we won conference. Playing Florida on AstroTurf in the middle of Philly was definitely not what I thought it was going to be the championship. Well, I did at the beginning of the season once we found out, like, because we were new to the league, so we didn't know like the rotation and everything. But I like the Temple turf. I think it's fun, but it was definitely different from the past years when you just got to play at JMU for the championship every year.
Gotcha.
So,
Is it and you guys have grass there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely,
that's interesting.
But it was fun.
Yeah, we at Cal when I played, we played on this like really old AstroTurf, and it was like cement. So it wasn't even like that. I don't even know what you call it, but that AstroTurf now that has like the rubber pellets that kind of like get all in your shoes and socks. You know what I'm talking about?
The tiny, yeah.
Yeah, the little tiny. It wasn't that. It was like the old school neon yellow, neon green turf. And it was so hard that like visiting teams would come in and every single bounce shot would be like 3 goals high because they're like, wow, this is like shooting on concrete.
Yeah. But I mean, we played Florida. It's not like anyone had an advantage there. It was just
right. It wasn't their home turf. Yeah.
So, but it was good. And now I'm really close. Sarah Resnick, the Florida goalie's here too.
Yeah,
so
she's awesome.
She's amazing. It's so fun to be hanging out with her, and we just, make jokes about the season and stuff. And it's a lot of fun to be on the other side of it now with her.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about AU. Athletes Unlimited, the women's pro league. It's awesome. It's awesome. I love it. When did you first decide like, hey, I'm going to play pro?
Well, funny because I thought I was all done, all wrapped up. They had the draft, and I never thought I was going to be drafted. Like, there's only 11 players that got drafted or something. But yeah, I got an email in like the end of May, maybe early June. They're like, "Oh, like, would you be interested?" And I was like, course I'll be interested. Like,
Right.
I thought I was done with lacrosse forever, but I was like, all right, well, I threw my cleats away. Like, I don't have much stuff anymore. Well, I did, but threw my cleats away. So, but yeah, and from there on, I just was pumped for the other chance. It's been amazing.
That is amazing. That is amazing. I'm trying to figure out how the draft works because there's not like teams, right? Like it's the concept of the league is like it's sort of a, I mean,
Like,
there is teams, but like you draw a new team each week and you're kind of like competing for individual points. So how does like a draft work?
so, well, there's the draft in this after the or right before playoffs, and then for the NCAA's, and they just say, all right, we want these whatever players. We're drafting them to come to the league. And
Okay.
then you get yeses, you get nos, whatever. And then now they need to fill other spots. So then you get like signed kind of. It's kind of like, the NFL, you get drafted, you miss the draft, and then you maybe get signed later on. So it's
Gotcha.
like that. But then week to week, we just have like a Zoom draft, and there's 4 captains, and it's the leaders of the league with in points. And then
Mm-hmm.
they go and they draft whoever they want, and then you play 3 games. It's so fun. But it's crazy because you think it's like this, it makes it seem like an individual league, but it's you're not on the leaderboard if you don't win. You're not top 4 if you don't win games. And
Sure.
so you get way more points from winning games. So
Gotcha.
like
Yeah.
I haven't played, but I'm not in last because my team's winning.
Right.
So that's the thing, like, be a great backup, be a great leader, like, give the energy to your team, because if they win, it helps you. And it's like, that's something that kind of brings me back to my JMU days. So I kind of like it.
That's awesome. Yeah. And then how do you like, I mean, I know you probably know some of the girls, but not all of them, right? So how do you guys develop that team chemistry week over week when it's like constantly switching?
Yeah, it's actually like not that hard because like it's like world class players, the people I'm playing
Yeah.
with. Like,
Right.
they're good because they can play with whoever, whenever, and like right now, like Sam Apuzzo is my captain, and like she's just absolutely amazing at getting a group to like get together and want to play for each other, and really just get early chemistry going. But it's interesting. Some teams will go get lunches together, breakfast, whatever,
Mm-hmm.
but practice every morning, so we kind of get some motions in there, some plays, some man up, man down. But at the end of the day, it's like, who can work better in a small amount of time with the team. And that's kind of how you draft too. You pick players that are really, really good at working with others. And but it's really cool. It's incredible getting to know these people here. I mean, it's people that I really thought I was going to have to avoid shots from, but here we are. And there's but it's been really fun, and it's insane, these shots that I'm seeing.
Oh,
But
I bet.
it's definitely different, but it's amazing.
Yeah. Who's got the most tricky shot to stop for you?
I haven't seen everybody's.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, these girls have insane power though,
Right.
so they can kind of shoot from anywhere. But I mean, so there's been the diving goals this season that no goalies are gonna save. And then, well, in practice, so my team right now, I have Sam Dempsey, um, Sam Gyersbeck, Courtney Fortunato, trying to think of the Nicole Levy, Caylee Waters, Ali Mastriani. Like, these people shooting on me, like, we're all the best shooters on their college teams.
Right.
And so they're all just so good. And we're doing like I'm stepping in for a warm up kind of drill, letting them get their shots going. And it's funny because I'll sometimes look at the players' eyes to kind of see where they're gonna go just in these drills. And at Dempsey, like, Dempsey could have her eyes closed and just put it in every time. It's so funny. I thought, like, sometimes I'm not bad at like reading up close shots and kind of like getting there, but I'm just never even close. And it's really funny. So I
That's
was like,
funny.
you are looking nowhere near where you're shooting right now. It's so cool.
That is funny. And the other question I had, so I don't understand women's lacrosse team defense as well as I probably should, but are there like, does everyone who plays defense like know a particular defensive scheme that like you just say we're doing like for example, in the med, we'll slide from the crease and then a coma slide, like, and that could kind of be our general scheme, or how do you guys do it defensively on such a short, with not many practices?
Yeah. Well, it's kind of hard to play. Well, it's not hard. Well, a lot of people aren't playing zones because you're only practicing for 2 days and you kind of can't just like snap to their zone real quick.
Right.
There is like a little like, so it's 6v6, which is different from college, which we do 7v7.
Oh, right.
So that's different defensively.
Do you like that? Do you like that more or less?
I think it's fun. I love it. I think it's really cool.
More space, right?
Yeah. And it's just like movement, and there's one at X a lot of times, and it's like the guy's game. Like you get hung up, there's a guy behind X. It's like, oh no, what's gonna happen? Like, what are they gonna do? And so that's pretty cool. But defensively, I mean, these defenders that are playing here are just brilliant lacrosse players, and they can have a huddle. My defense right now is Mairead's on my team, and there's Lizzie Colson, Meg Doughty, Marge Donovan. Like they can just go together and be like, all right, we're in this little we have a couple matchups here. Let's do this. Like early slides on this person, whatever. And it's just, everyone remembers it and everyone just executes. So there's not all that much. I don't think that you're really going into overthinking.
Got it. And in terms of your own personal goalie game, playing with the best in the world, have you learned something with your own personal goalie game that you wish, man, I wish I knew this back at JMU?
I don't know. I feel like I don't think I've really discovered anything new, like technique wise or anything.
Yeah.
But no, I don't know. I think it's just, it's really cool to be behind these goalies.
Yeah.
Watching Taylor, Britt, Caylee, Kitty Glynn, like all these girls are such good players. And, if you can take anything from anyone's game, always do it. Like, oh, like that was an interesting, like the way Taylor plays like alley shots is just really like, she seems like she's leaving something open, but she never really is. And so it's just a lot of people, everyone here plays just a little bit different. And so if you can it's just huge.
Awesome. Well, good luck in the rest of the season. So you guys, where you're at right now as we record this?
Baltimore.
In Baltimore, yeah. And then how many more weeks of the season do we got left?
We have this weekend and next weekend, and we're done.
There you go. There you go. And that first pro career, first year wrapped up. Love it.
I know.
I made a note about something you said I want to go back to if we could. So scouting, you mentioned like I really enjoy, I don't know if you said I enjoy or I do it a lot. Is that true? And what exactly, like when you look at the film and I'm going to scout this particular player or this particular team, what are you looking for?
Well, every player has their tendencies and every shooter has their like favorite spot, and they might not think it, but you can look back and say, oh, you score most of your goals here, or high or low or mid, off stick.
Yeah.
So I don't overthink it, but I'll look at, before every game, I would go back to, we had this app that was Score Break, which made it really, really easy. I'd go to, number 10, her shots against, at Team X, and it shows her every goal, every shot she takes. It's like which ones land, which ones don't land. And eventually you kind of like remember like, all right, this person like loves off hip, like and will shoot there every time. And so, but sometimes it's a challenge for me because as a lefty, I'm thinking to myself, are they smart enough to change it up? Are they going to go offside, or are they just going to go right to my stick? So then you start this whole like game, and then you just have to drop it and be like, this is where I think they're going to go. Have some sort of, idea of where they shoot from. And that's kind of the base of it. But a lot of times like 8-meter shooters have their tendencies too. Outside shooters are going to shoot outside. They love it.
Right.
Right. It's not fun. So like, just, play a little higher. Don't, it's a little different here and there. So, but I definitely try to look into, what the girls are going to do on their 8 meters and where they tend to shoot from.
Awesome. Well, Kat, thank you so much for coming on the show. It's been tons of fun chatting with you. I also like the style you got. Do you always go sweatpants or shorts with the tights, or what kind of swag we going with these days?
Yeah, it's tights and shorts right now. It's a little
Tights and
hot out.
shorts right now. Summertime.
It's brutal here. It's like 95 or like 100, but I'm like, gotta look good, dude. Gotta look good.
Yeah.
You
You
gotta
get
sweat
get
it
the
out.
eye black going. Get
Yep,
that. All
always.
right, I love it.
Yeah.
What kind of stick do you use?
I use the Eclipse 2 right now, and my shaft is the SCI 0 or O,
Hmm.
I think. That's
Are
what it's
you
called.
gonna upgrade to the 3, you think? Clips 3?
If I get to play again, if I get invited back one day,
All
never
right.
know. Just gotta
Yeah.
hope for the best. But yeah, I would love to be able to keep using new gear and stuff and
Yeah.
see what
All
my
right.
favorite.
When you do use it in season 2, we'll have to chat. You tell me how it is.
I will.
Well, I got one right here, but I'm always getting I want to get everyone's opinion on it. So
Sarah Resnick's using it right now. I think she likes it a
she
lot.
is? All right. I'll hit up Sarah. I sponsored Sarah last year, where I know her pretty
Yeah, I
well.
think she got it. I think she might have got it as like a prototype or something
Oh
early.
wow.
So I think she
She's in on the ground floor.
yeah, that's why she beat us in the championship.
That's it. She had better equipment.
Yeah,
Unbelievable.
unfair.
Cool. Not fair. Kat, thank you so much for coming on the show. If you had to leave the goalies out there with one final piece of advice, what would that be?
Don't get down on yourself. Like it's gonna happen, and you're gonna get upset sometimes. But remember that good shots are gonna go in, and you are amazing because goalie is so fun. And find the best in it, and always smile, no matter when things are going bad. But I think it's so important to always smile. So
I love it. I'll let out a big smile for this great chat. Kat, have a great day.
thanks so much. Have a good
All right.
one.
Take care.